Hello, everyone, and how are you tonight? I am so happy that you decided to join us. We are so happy to be able to talk to you tonight about school safety. I'm Tamara Foley, CEO and founder of Education for All Now, and the author of Cassie's Big Change series. Welcome to How Do We Support Children to Feel Safe in School? I am a trauma practitioner and educator for nearly 40 years, supporting children as well as adults with disabilities, as well as those in trauma and social emotional learning. So please, if you're live tonight, or even if you're on the replay, please type in the chat if you or your children or your grandchildren, foster children, or children you love are going back to school in person this year. Also, let us know if you are concerned about their safety. So, tonight, I have a special guest, school counselor, children's book author, and mom, Aniesha Jackson. And Aniesha was with us in May discussing social emotional learning. So, I'm going to add her to the screen. Hello, Aniesha. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Dr. Foley?
I'm doing great. So, what I want to let's see what people are saying. Yes, face to face learning begins next Wednesday for someone.
I know.
So, it's very, 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 very soon. So, Anisha, so
Yes.
before I forget, let me mention that Anisha just published a new coloring book
Mhm.
just in time for National Coloring Book Day on August 2nd, 2022. So,
That's right.
Anisha, tell us how people can purchase your coloring book.
Yes, of course. Well, thank you, Dr. Foley, for having me. My books, you can visit anishajackson.com. But for my coloring books, they are available on Amazon. So you can just go to Amazon, type in Fun for Everyone by Anisha Jackson. I got to point to the right way. And
Okay.
it should pop up. It's $7.99, 105 pages of goodness, of things that kids can do when they are bored. So, of course, I picked R for read at the library. I have puzzles, I have tic tac toe in here. So, it's 105 pages of just your kids can say, I'm bored. You're like, really? Well, let's go pee. For First of all, for P for puppets, and then they get to color. It's a very relaxing activity, and then you can say, "Go ahead and do some coloring." Then I have K for kite flying. So, of course, I'm trying to find some activities. There's plenty of activities in here
Perfect.
for kids, but it's perfect for coloring book day, which is coming up next week. We're in August, Dr. Foley. We're in August.
We're not in August yet. We still have a couple more days.
Oh,
So I just want to mention that Dejanay said, my children return to in-person school this year already. So there's some kids that are already in school. So also to let you know that you can also purchase Cassie's Big Change coloring and activity book. And you can find this at cassiesbigchange.com
yeah.
or on Amazon. So Anisha, will you have children entering this school year?
All of them. This is my first year. I have four babies, one girl, three boys, and all of them will be entering school. Time flies by, but yes, I'll have a pre-K student who luckily will have his class will be in a school building with my other three sons, a kindergartner, a rising third grader, and then a middle schooler. So all of my babies will be in school this year.
So how
All
are you feeling amid the tragedies at school, with the most recent one being on May 24th, 2022 in Uvalde, Texas at Robb Elementary School?
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but I was a school counselor when Sandy Hook happened, and I was right in New Jersey, and Sandy Hook is in Connecticut. So that was more traumatizing to me than I thought as a school counselor, because I'm like, what? That could easily be my school. And so I was, I'm not going to let fear take the best of me. And so the very next day, I had my kids go to school. One wanted to stay home because he was saying he was sick. He really wasn't, but I was like, okay, I'll hold on. But the other one, I didn't explain to him what was going on, because I was still processing it. And he went to school and nervous, and I just, just said a prayer. Thankfully, I know the school and I know their safety procedures. I don't know if we're going to get into tips, but one of the ways that you can prepare as a parent is to know the safety procedures at the school. I don't think anybody nowadays is lackadaisical. So there are crisis team meetings, but figure out what are the safety drills. Obviously, you can't get too much information about lockdowns and fire drills, but just letting them know simply, okay, I know the outside doors are locked, but how easy is it are the doors locked inside? What's the visitor policy? Because some people I know, like this year celebrating birthdays, you drop your cupcakes off and you get out of there. There's no birthday celebrations anymore. And just being okay with that. You can't even get offended anymore, because to me, I'm like, let me just drop off the cupcakes and let the teacher handle my child's birthday party. But what are the procedures, and even what's with the reporting? Can you even report if you feel or you hear something that is unsafe or that is concerning to you? So you need to first and foremost become knowledgeable on all of these procedures, because there are procedures. And how do you get in contact with the police officers? When does the school get in contact with the police officers? And then also with parents, do your due diligence. Like the most frustrating thing is to have to call a parent and none of the information is updated. So I'm just like, please, like literally there's like 5 phone numbers and none of them work. And I'm just like, you guys, like, be vigilant in those endeavors as well. So find out what are the procedures, because there definitely are.
Mhm.
And then also make sure that your contact information is up to date, just in case a teacher or an administrator needs to get in touch with you. So I derailed from the original
So,
question.
so what I heard from you as tips for parents is, don't try not to live in fear. Number
Yes,
two, make sure your information is correct, your
please.
contact information. And three, do your due diligence by finding out the safety procedures in school. So if you have a parent that is feeling fear on the first day coming
Mhm.
into the school building, what will you as a school counselor do to help them to, calm down so that they can feel safe in leaving their children at school?
Right. And I think everybody, especially at the elementary level, especially those first time parents of kindergartners, you're definitely nervous. And of course, with everything that's been going on with the senseless killings, whether you're at the mall or at a
Mhm.
concert or whatever. But it's just to like hear them out, like validate their feelings, letting them know. Trust me, as a parent, I definitely understand, but we do have safety procedures. And if they want to ask questions, you can say, well, yeah, we have certain exits. And yes, we have, obviously we can't give too much information, but just try to reassure them that trust and believe. Um, we have met before school even started, just like, what are we doing on the first day of school? So it's like, can you imagine your kindergartners come in, sit down, have a seat, fire drill. And this is what, like literally they're going through some of those practices on the first and second day of school. So just letting them know that the teachers, we are well versed in what we're supposed to do. Um, and their child is safe. Their child is safe with us. And also, even if you want to talk to kids, and especially the older kids who kind of know what's going on, letting them know that the probability of Uvalde is pretty low, but of course there is a possibility. So also reassuring to the parent, like, of course everything gets blown up because it's on TV and it's still tragic, but the likelihood of it happening is really it is pretty low.
Yeah,
So just
I just want to share. This is just a quote from Dewey Cornell. He's a professor of education at the University of Virginia. And he says the increase in shootings in school is likely a a consequence of an overall increase in gun violence and not specific to schools. But he also says to parents what I found um, somewhat reassuring is that most schools will never have a shooting, and their main problems will be fighting and bullying.
Yeah.
And this was published in June 2022 in the Washington Post. So, what are you thinking about that?
I completely agree. To me, yes, we do have the drills, but I feel it's like car insurance. We have it for protection's sake, and also just to be responsible. But the likelihood is pretty low. The thing is, with TV and it playing over and over, sometimes it can be exacerbated. And you think, oh my goodness, it's happening all the time. But really, it's not. It's devastating when it does. Like I'm wearing orange for because we wear orange to fight for gun violence. Like we have to do something to. This is ridiculous that you don't feel safe bringing your kids to school. But just be mindful that school shootings are rare, but we do have procedures and we do have a safety crisis plan where as a counselor, I have a certain role. The principal, the assistant principal, the teachers have a role. The custodian has a role. Everyone has a role in the school. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, back in the 90s when I was in school, we had tornado drills. That was nothing, compared to, unfortunately, the situations that we're in now. And we try and play out all of the situations. What if they're in the cafeteria? What if they're outside? What if they're in my classroom? I'm like, listen, we fighters up in here. Like if they, I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm just like, we have our safety procedures. But I'm just like, I keep a box we have like these Jenga blocks or whatever, but I keep them in where the kids go when we say it's a lockdown drill. And I'm like, y'all better grab a block. And if this person wants to decide to come into our classroom, it is going to be chaos. Like we are, fighting. And I just don't believe in being sitting ducks. So I don't know if that's statistically correct, but for all the kids, go in one corner, you're sitting ducks. And I'm like, if you're with Aniesha, oh, oh. Like I teach my kids, especially my older kids, like we are fighting, but also you need to take these drills seriously. And parents, let the kids know, take these drills seriously. This is not the time, even a fire
Okay, are
drill.
you going now? Okay,
Okay,
okay.
I'm
You
going too
were
far.
talking from you were talking from a school counselor perspective first.
Mhm.
Okay. And we said we'd also talk from a mom perspective. So let's move over now and let me hear some things that you would say from a mom perspective, from one mom to another mom, about entering school this year amidst all of these tragedies.
Yeah, I would just say become as knowledgeable as you can about like the procedures, but also make safety a common word. Don't wait until a tragedy happens. And so I'm just thinking, my kids came to me one day and they're like, Mommy, like if we had a fire in our house, how will we get down? And so that had me thinking, like, let's create a safety plan. Just so safety isn't just like, oh, you only hear it at school or you only hear it after a horrible event. So I would just say, just make safety a normal part of your conversation. Saying, all right, guys, so if we have, God forbid, a fire in a house, this is where we will meet. These are the safety procedures. Also, I would tell them, create a safety plan. Like, what trusted adult can you talk to? And have that open dialogue with the child. The thing is, you just don't want to talk about safety all of a sudden because you have to, like, constantly talk about that. But that's also checking in with your child. I know with school starting, you want to start new routines. Start with dinner conversations. They be like, oh no. I know my middle schooler is gonna be like, Mom, really? But start with the what's the rose of your day and what's the thorn of your day, and just having continuous conversations and just reassuring them that people care about your child just as much as you do. We really do, and that everything will be okay. But just don't let your fear be projected on the child.
Yeah, because
because then
children
they're
will
like,
definitely, right, and children will definitely model and feel if their parent is feeling stressed, then they'll
mhm.
begin to feel stressed. So you go into schools and you also share coloring activities. So can you talk about just a moment? How does coloring help to calm kids? And is that something that you would suggest for parents who have kids that may be feeling stressed? Is to have a conversation, but maybe both of you are sitting coloring. What are suggestions you have?
Absolutely. Coloring, and I'm telling you, fifth graders love to color. It is so calming. It's low, it's stress. It's not a whole lot of stress. It's an easy activity. It's mindfulness. It really calms you down. You really have to focus. It's an outlet for for creativity. And I will say, a lot of times in my counseling sessions, I can't just counsel kids. They feel much better if they're coloring a page. And I'm coloring a page, taking notes or whatever. So they might be here and I'll have my own coloring page. And I'm coloring and I'm asking questions. And it's just such a relaxing, mindful activity. Like everyone's not going to just want to just talk. And also doing like maybe in my book, I also have like word searches. Kids love, I mean, it's like a treat. Sometimes I'm like, all right, let's get through this lesson. And then we get to do a crossword. It is the quietest in my room when they're coloring. Of course, my printer wants to work now. um, but it is the quietest time in my entire um, lesson because my lessons are very interactive, but it's calming, it's low stress, it's easy, and kids absolutely love it.
Okay, so before we close, please let us know again what and how can people find you on social media?
Yes, so you can find me at KaroyLegacy.com, Karoy Legacy on my Facebook and on my Instagram. My books, my website is AnieshaJackson.com, ANIESHA Jackson.com. You can find my books on Amazon. Some of them are on Barnes and Noble, and yeah, that's how you can find me. And actually, I have two coloring books. This is my newest one, but I also have a holiday coloring book that came out last year. Kids love to color. They love to journal, and the good thing is, I leave. Oh, here's a crossword. I leave a blank page because kids, they also just like to draw themselves. Even if you can't draw or whatever, it's just a very relaxing um, activity.
Yeah, they love
So
to doodle. Yeah.
right. They just like to doodle, just to, just it's just I don't want to say it's mindless, but it's just easy, it's calming, it's low effort, it's enjoyable. So if you think a kindergartner is the only one who likes to color, there are adult coloring books. That's it, the mindfulness, the releasing and peaceful power of it. That and word searches, not crosswords, but word searches work like a charm
Yeah,
for
yeah. My
for kids.
mother, 97, and
Yeah.
she loves to color. I love to color.
It is.
You
It's
know,
so calm. It's so calm. And then, of course, the hand-eye coordination. There's the academic fine motor skills, but it's just
language
very
development, all lots of
all
different
of
things.
it. It's a creative outlet, also.
Right.
They get to color, and it's so funny because as back in the 80s and 90s, they were coloring the lines. Now you're like, just color, just color. Don't worry about coloring in the lines. Just color and let it be, just an enjoyable experience. I'm telling you, I had a coloring book party uh, this year for an author visit. And there were like seventh graders who did an amazing job coloring. They were just so peaceful. Even their position, their body was just,
Mhm.
it was
Well,
amazing.
great. So before we go tonight, I need you to also, would you give the tips that you, uh, from the mom's perspective, and then I'd like for you to share those tips again just share the tips
Yes.
from the uh, counselor perspective. So people who weren't on at the beginning can now hear them at the end. And for those people who are joining us live, you're hearing it directly. And for those who are on the replay, just put replay in the comments. Go ahead,
Yes.
Anisha.
Yes. So from the parent's perspective, I would just reassure your child that they are safe at school, and that the probability of a school shooting happening is really low. But as you're having this conversation, but say you need to pay attention during these drills. They're there to protect you, so take them seriously. Also, okay, I want to go to the counselor piece, but what I would tell my children is, if you see something, say something. Listen to that uh-oh voice. If something doesn't seem right, go ahead and tell a trusted adult. Um, and last but not least, monitor your child. Monitor even what they're looking at on TV and their technology. But just ask them about their day. So, how was your day? Tell me the rose of your day. What was the best part of your day? And what was the thorn part of your day? And help them process that. But like I said, if they see something, say something. We had a situation at school where a kid brought a toy gun to school, and the kids didn't say anything. And then eventually we found out, and we're like, you have to say something. And actually, there was a consequence for those kids. And it's not tattling. And so that's what I tell my kids. It's not tattling when you're trying to keep someone safe, but trust that uh-oh voice. Like, something doesn't seem right about this situation. So those are a couple of conversations that you can have um, as a parent, and then of course as a school counselor. One cool thing, it might be risky, but have the kids create a safety plan. How and incorporate what would you like to see in the school, like, we have our fire drills and we have our lockdown drills, but how can we be safe? And let the kids create a plan and see if somehow with guidance you can enact that. They're more likely to follow their plan or whatever, but it also empowers them. Like, we are taking procedures. We're being very proactive in this. And you can be proactive in your safety as well. And I actually am going to probably implement that at my new school. Just let them become part of the solution. And those are my tips.
Thanks so much, Anisha. We certainly appreciate tips from the mom's perspective and tips from the school counselor perspective. So, tonight's session was, how do we prepare our children for school? And how do we make them feel safe? And so, we've heard you give some great tips for parents from the mom's perspective and from the counselor's perspective.
Even though
And
a little bit got jumbled up because I'm both.
right, and I was trying to help you
You were
create
like, please stay in this
a
lane,
clear
ma'am.
line so that people don't get confused, because it can be confusing.
Yeah,
And we don't only have moms, we have grandmothers and other
mhm.
people listening who support children in different
Of course,
ways.
of course.
So thank you so much again for
Thank you.
joining us, and we are so happy to have you again. And for those who don't know, we have some new merchandise that we're rolling out tonight for Cassie'sBigChange.com. And these are called feeling cards. And so you can get these exclusively at Cassie'sBigChange.com. And some of them deal in the back with social emotional learning. And these are from Cassie's Big Change, how COVID-19 changed the way we learn. So this is the set from that book. And Cassie's Big Change, going from the living room to the classroom. So these are now available at Cassie'sBigChange.com.
All
Please
right.
don't forget um, National Coloring Day on August 2nd. So
Awesome.
Anisha, put your book up. Anisha has shared her coloring book. That's new. And then, of course, we have the Cassie's Big Change Coloring and Activity book. So if you don't have uh, neat coloring books for your kids, or they need something new, please check out all of these coloring books.
Or
Um,
buy them for yourself also. Like the teachers at the daycares, when I did the coloring book party, they were like, I want a copy too. And they just enjoyed, it's just a very relaxing activity with so many positive benefits.
It is. So thanks again, guys, for joining us. And We will see you next month. Have a great night. Good
Have a
night.
great. Thank you.